morning. Is it a good morning? It's cold. It's warming up. It's not freezing anymore. It's 35 and it's sunny. It's going to get warmer. I see people have, what's that? I see people have started adding on. See some Pixar additions. Very nice. Very nice. So welcome to class. We are going to do a few things today. First off, here is what we're looking at for the rest of the semester. So today and next week, I want to look at, I want to let you watch a documentary called The Dream Finders. It's about people who actually moved to Orlando, and they have started to build followings around, and some people, I believe, have pretty profitable careers around being fans of Disney. And so they'll go through the parks and record videos of rides and shows and events, and they'll have podcasts where they give their views on different things that Disney's doing, either within the parks or with the movies, that type of thing. We're going to do that today and next Monday. And then on the 19th is when we have Ron Schneider talking with us. And you remember from the first of the class, he was the original Dreamfinder when it opened at Epcot. And so he'll be talking to us, he'll be Skyping with us on the 19th. The 26th is when I'm planning to talk about Walt Disney himself, the things that he did and the things he helped to create. And then after spring break on the 12th and 19th, we'll start talking about Disney movies. Some of the Disney movies that maybe you all know, some of the ones that you possibly don't know, and kind of the transition the Walt Disney Studios had into live action, and then later into Pixar, and some of the things that happened to bring that Pixar relationship to where it is now. The 19th will continue that discussion. I also want to share with you some of the fan films that are out there, bless you, and Disney being an organization or an entity that is so popular that it's one of the few that people have started to make fan films, fan books about, especially since they acquired the Star Wars franchise from Lucasfilm. And then the 26th, April 1st, and April 9th is when I'm planning to talk about the parks. So we'll kind of talk about some of the things how the parks were developed, some of the things that the parks have or offer people, and then some future renovations and additions to parks. Just the other day, maybe yesterday, I saw Tokyo Disneyland is looking at adding their third park. So they have Tokyo Disneyland, they opened Tokyo Disney Sea, and now they're talking about opening up a Tokyo Disney Air. And the two primary attractions there would be the Pandora, the World of Avatar, which is open in Animal Kingdom now, and then Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which is opening in Disneyland 2018 and Disney World 2019 in Hollywood Studios. You have a question?
No.
Okay. Just excited about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, you should spend some time looking this up online. They are in the process of trying to build planning an all immersive hotel for guests, where you would actually go, the hotel would be connected to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios. You go and you have to stay for, right now they're saying a minimum of 3 nights. And it's all immersive. So you have your own Star Wars adventure. And inside the hotel, it appears as though you're in a huge starship. You're looking out and you're in the Star Wars universe. Some of the rumored attractions for it would be like your own droids that are following you around, helping you throughout the day. You have certain missions that you have to create. And so it will be something that when it opens, if it opens, will be very, very interesting, and I imagine a very popular site for Disney and attraction for them. April 16th, we're going to talk about engagement lessons from Disney. This is what I usually talk about in my marketing class. I told you I would share that with everyone. And then on the 23rd, that's our last class, so we'll kind of have a course wrap up, and then any questions that anyone has about the course or something that we didn't address you think would be interesting to talk about. Now, there's the schedule. However, as I said, we are open to talking about many different things. Okay, so if you see something that you want to talk about, if you want to bring something in, by all means, let's talk about it. Okay, anything you see that Disney has done, any new announcements that are coming out, any rumors that have been circulating around about the Disney organization, we can talk about all of those. Okay. What was last night in the world of sport? The Super Bowl, right? How many people watched? Okay. Did you watch for the game, or did you watch for the advertisements? Or did you watch because Justin Timberlake was the halftime show? All three. Just the game? Anybody watch just for Justin Timberlake?
I mean, his performance is good, but I watched it.
It was a very good performance. I don't think I've seen anyone start a performance in the concourse before and walk out. Definitely not take a selfie with fans. And I don't think I've seen anybody performing, actually singing on the NFL Shield at the 50-yard line. So that might be I thought it was a pretty good performance. During the first quarter of the Super Bowl, the new Star Wars film, Solo, A Star Wars Story, the teaser trailer was released. How many people saw that? Not really? Anybody see that during the first quarter? So this is, this morning on Good Morning America, they released the full trailer, or it's a 1.5-minute trailer. Last night was about 30 seconds. And so we'll watch that here in just a bit. But how many people saw Star Wars Episode 8, this latest one? Okay. What'd you think of it?
I'm not a huge Star Wars person, so I didn't really care for it. My boyfriend's siblings are obsessed with it, so we took them to go see it. And I haven't seen the ones leading up to it, so I was confused. I saw like the first two, but I don't know. I feel like the series is honestly just being thrown out.
Okay. I think a lot of people may agree with you. What did you think?
I don't know. I am based on this. I'm like a little bit biased, but I thought it was super intriguing. I thought it left 9 totally wide open for whatever they want to do. I thought it was really good. I liked it a lot.
So see, it's interesting. You said you're a little biased because you're a huge Star Wars fan. Because there are also those Star Wars fans that they have now, they're like, nope, not seeing Episode 9, because Episode 8, there was so much that they found improbable or unrealistic keeping in or taking into account that we're talking about a story that took place in a galaxy far, far away a long, long time ago with flying ships, talking droids, talking Wookiees, those type of things. But because of kind of the national, in some ways international backlash. For instance, Episode 8 has not performed well in China. It's not been received well in China. So, Solo, A Star Wars Story, is that next movie that's coming out. It's not one of the episodes, but you know they're having these anthology movies come out that tell the story of different characters in the Star Wars universe. And so this one's coming out Memorial Day, May 25th this year. There have been rumors that Disney has been worried about Solo. They replaced the 2 directors during the process. Ron Howard finished out directing the movie. And there's been a lot of rumors as to why it was not being promoted the way the other movies had been. Last night, during the Super Bowl, they showed the teaser trailer of it. That was to launch off or lead into this morning on Good Morning America. Good Morning America, an ABC show, showing the full or the extended trailer for Solo.
It could be a good time. It's the rumor about camp. Anyway.
That is not the one that pulled up. So let's try this one. Here are the promotional posters that are being released for Han Solo. If you could see, the Millennium Falcon is not separated in the front for this movie, so maybe they'll explain that one in this movie. And then here is the official teaser.
I've been running scams on the street since I was 10. I was kicked out of the flight academy for having a mind of my own. I'm gonna be a pilot. Best in the galaxy.
Hey kid, I'm putting together a crew. You in?
That's yes.
Might be the only person. Who knows? What you really are.
What's that?
Get ready.
Thought we were in trouble there for a second, but it's fine. We're fine.
So there you go. So, following the Super Bowl last night, instead of watching the post game, I spent time watching or reading up on the reviews of the teaser trailer for Solo and kind of what people are thinking of that. This image up here, before we get started on the video, this image up here was something that we just talked about in my last class when we talked about my marketing classes. How many people have seen Cars 3? So when Cars 3 was released in 2016, leading up to the release of Cars 3, because there was such a, remember Cars 1, there was a heavy emphasis on NASCAR style racing, big stadiums. Cars 2, it went kind of more the Indy route, going into the World Grand Prix, and it also had the underlying story of Mater being a special agent. Cars 3, they wanted to bring it back because Cars 2 didn't perform as well. So the rumor was they wanted to bring the Cars story back to kind of that NASCAR style racing that maybe would be more, people would be more receptive to in the United States. And so they bring it back to, it's kind of a story of redemption. You know, Lightning McQueen is, there are newer racers, faster racers, more advanced technologically. And so it's kind of this redemption story of how he gets back into racing. Leading up to that, Disney and Pixar partnered with NASCAR to promote the release of Cars 3. So during the 2016 NASCAR series or season, these two cars, Lightning McQueen and Cruz Ramirez, traveled around to different NASCAR races. And so when people went to a NASCAR race, they could also see the Cars characters. and they could go up, obviously take pictures with them, do meet and greets with some of the actors or the voice actors, some of the producers of the movie. And so I highlight this in my marketing class, and we talked about it in the last class, just because this is a fascinating example of how Disney and Pixar used sport to cross-promote, and how NASCAR helped promote the movie also helped promote the sport of NASCAR. So what I want to start on today is this documentary called The Dream Finders. And it's a documentary, as I said, about people who moved to Orlando to experience the Walt Disney World and Walt Disney World parks, and how they kind of tell their stories in this documentary. You'll see a lot of, or a few of the people that you can look them up online, you can look them up on Facebook and social media and kind of see their stories about or their views on Walt Disney World. In this, you'll also see Ron Schneider, who we will be Skyping with on the 19th. So we'll start this, and then we'll finish it on next Monday. Any questions before we begin? Okay.
This program was made possible by Mouse Fan Travel and viewers like you. Mouse Fan Travel, a division of MEI Travel, creating magical vacations since 1989.
Is that good?
My name is John Sakari. I'm from BigFatPanda.com. What is my affiliation with Disney? I love it. I'm definitely a crazed super fan who needs therapy but refuses to go to the doctor.
My name is Jenny Lynn Knopp, and currently I work as a multimedia content developer for The Diz, which is a website that gives travel information out to people who are planning their Disney vacations.
I'm Ricky Briganti. I own and operate InsideTheMagic.net, which is an independent news, entertainment, information website all about theme parks and beyond.
So my name is Lou Mangello, and I'm the host and producer of WDW Radio. I'm also the author of a number of books about Walt Disney World.
So my name is Karen Anderson, and I run the website DisneyLifestylers.com, and I also work for the website InsideTheMagic.net, mainly doing merchandise, but also creating other content.
I'm Ron Schneider, and I grew up at Disneyland. I was there the day that the place opened to the public, July 18th, 1955. And all my life, I've been fascinated with the place. Studied puppetry and magic as a child, got interested in performing, and when Walt passed away in 1966, it struck me that Disneyland was this giant stage, and the people who were visiting were the actors on that stage. It was a show.
I've been a Disney fan since my earliest days. I was born and raised in Florida, and for anybody who has grown up in Florida, you know sort of all roads lead to Disney.
So I grew up in Sweden, and as a kid, of course, like even in Sweden, Disney is a really big deal. Since I was 12, I had this dream that I wanted to move to the US, I wanted to be close to the Disney parks, and you know, I was gonna do it.
Theme parks have definitely been a big part of my life, my whole life. I grew up in Miami, came up here to Orlando quite frequently with my parents. We went on sort of annual trips, definitely hit the parks, hit the Magic Kingdom, hit the other parks as they opened, and over the years I just grew a really, really big, strong affinity for it all. I remember some of my earliest memories sitting in a stroller in front of Cinderella Castle, or watching the Main Street Electrical Parade, or going on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's just definitely been a huge part of my whole life.
So I've been coming to Walt Disney World since November of 1971. The first time we were here was about 3 weeks after the park opened. My parents, we were all big Disney fans, and so my father piled us into the family truckster, and we drove from New Jersey, as we did every year from that year on, from New Jersey to Florida, and came to Disney World, right after it opened.
I think the reason why I did grow so attached to it, though, was my family. I come from a broken family, and my childhood wasn't the easiest one that you would hope for someone to have. Yet it seemed like when my family would come to Disney on our trips, we just came together, and we were the family that we should have been every day.
As we started coming as a child, I became fascinated by what was drawing us back here. And as I got older and learned everything I could about this place and read everything could and talked to as many cast members as possible, I started to wonder not just what was bringing us back, but what was bringing tens of millions of people back every year. And I was fascinated how they kept this living, breathing, working city so clean, and all the cast members so incredibly friendly. So I think as a kid, it started to really become something special, not just because of the attractions, but really because it was where I was making year after year consistently incredible memories that I still remember fondly to this day with my parents. So it was always a very happy place for us. It was a way to sort of get away and escape from reality. And as I got older and started going with my friends, and then with my wife, and then with my children, seeing it through their eyes, that feeling of us being in a special place really was sort of magnified even more exponentially.
After Walt passed, I started studying the way Disneyland worked and its history. I would visit the park as many times as I could. In 1970, I was 18, and I was finally old enough to get a job at the park. The very first job I had was wardrobe issue on the Christmas parade in 1970. It only lasted for a couple of weeks, but it got me in backstage. I got to look around, see how things worked. I was fascinated. 10 years later, 1980, Disneyland was celebrating its 25th anniversary, and I got my dream job. I was understudying Molly Bogue at the Golden Horseshoe Revue, the longest running live stage show in history, and doing the role that I coveted for many, many years. In 1982, I left the Golden Horseshoe at Disney's behest and came here to Central Florida. I was the original dream finder at Journey into Imagination at Epcot Center. Finally, I came back in 2006 with the creation of the Monsters Incorporated Laugh Floor. I was one of the opening crew on that, one of the first Monsters, and lasted there for about 2.5 years.
I would consider us kind of a poor family growing up, but I didn't know it. Like, you know, we never went on vacation. We went to like a dude ranch, and that was vacation. I didn't know what vacation was. At about 5 or 6 years old, my dad said we have tickets on Eastern Airlines and we're going to Disney World. And I do remember watching The Wonderful World of Disney on TV and The Wonderful World of Color, and I was really excited about that. I had read all the Disney books and stuff, so this was a big adventure. And I remember landing and seeing palm trees for the first time and thinking, this is amazing. The next thing that I remember, and I do have these memories are still there, I just remember being on my dad's shoulders on, I can get emotional about it because I'm stupid. I just remember crossing over the Seven Seas Lagoon to see the castle, and it was life-changing. I can't believe that I got emotional about that. Wow. Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Rick, thanks for that tidbit.
Thank you, sir. If you go to the second floor, it's even good. Yeah. I could try. Oh, steps. My enemy. Oh, let's go to the front. Come. Should I try to get him on the phone?
Huh?
Should I try to get him on the phone? I'll cry talking to him.
Actually,
yes. So we try to get Dad. Hold on.
you calling your dad?
Call Leonard Sakari Dad. Oh, this isn't the word. Hold on.
You gotta have.
Call Leonard Sakari Dad. I have to say my last name wrong for Siri.
Calling Leonard Sakari Dad.
You be alright?
No, I'm gonna
Good.
cry. It does. I don't want to purposely cry, but I might. Hey. Okay, hold on. I'm putting you on speakerphone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up, bud.
Okay, because you know where I am?
Disney.
Yeah. Yes. But listen, we're filming the Dreamfinders documentary, and I've got you on speakerphone. I'm on the ferry boat. I'm on the second floor, and I'm going across the Seven Seas Lagoon.
Nice.
Do you remember having me on your shoulders at all?
Yes, I know. But it was such a long time ago.
It was.
But I remember going across with you on my shoulders, yes.
Did you realize it was going to have such a crazy impact on my life?
No.
When did you?
Never this bad. Never this bad.
I love that you call it bad. It's a good thing.
No, I remember you at the Cove waiting for the parade to come, and you were sitting at the Cove and the parade come around, and you were just sitting there with an awe at the parade.
We still got like 12mm footage of that.
Yes. I know.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, somebody just called up.
All right, go ahead. I'm gonna lose you. I love you. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. He usually says I love you too.
Your father is a sweetheart.
I never thought it would be that
He
bad.
sounds exactly like you, just like older.
Does he really?
He's got that thick New York accent.
So look at this. Look at this. And you pass the other ferry boat coming in, and usually all the people wave to each other, whether you're coming or going.
I know.
See this. Okay. This is serious. Right now, this is where I'd want to be more than anywhere in the world. And I know that's silly to some people, but some people, you know, it's a theme park to some people. But I don't want to be in, you know, Peru, Brazil. Not that those places aren't great. This is it. The middle of the Seven Seas Lagoon. This to me is like, this is my world. Thank What if you don't agree with me? Then you'll be.
No, we always agree. We always love it. And when I watch the panda, I think, oh, I want to go with them.
You know, it's funny because for somebody that's such a Disney fanatic, Big Fat Panda, the connotation is from Kung Fu Panda, which is DreamWorks. But I did like at the end when they said to him, "You're just a big fat panda." He goes, "No, I'm not just a big fat panda. I'm the big fat panda." He owns it, and I loved that, so I took that. I think I needed a way to showcase the videos and myself, so I did the monthly show to go along with it. And I thought that I could deliver the information that just about everybody gives. We all kind of regurgitate the same information. But I just thought I could do it uniquely, and I hoped that people would like my take on it. But that started when I moved down here. I got involved with the Disney community, and Jenny Lynn Knopp, who now works for the Diz, we were doing a little show called Inner Mouse. And Inner Mouse was fairly popular. It was like the first video show for fans.
There were other shows that were talking again about how to plan your vacations, but I felt like there wasn't anybody talking about what to do as a Disney fan when you weren't on your vacation. So the idea was to have a weekly show, and every week we would discuss a lifestyle type topic and how, as Disney fans, that could be incorporated to that area of your life.
Living the life around the world. It's time for Inner Mouse, your Disney lifestyle destination, with JL, Scott, John, and Nicole.
And we did that. So, and it was just really kind of silly and crazy. We did something different every week, whether it's, I think one episode we did something called Pimp Your Ride, and we talked about, as a Disney fan, what does your vehicle look like? How do you bring it into your automobile? Or if Halloween was coming around, how do you have a Disney Halloween if you're not able to make it to the not so scary party?
And little by little, as things would start to fall apart and I'd start something else again, I said, I want to do my own thing because I want to have the control. I don't want it to fall apart. I'd like to do my own creative thing. And that's how BigFatPanda.com started, and that's how I started the monthly show to go along with the videos. And I was a big fan of Inside the Magic before I even moved down to Florida. So sometimes seeing Ricky still, and I don't want him to get a big head, so hopefully he doesn't hear this ever, is, I was a huge fan of his, and I would listen to the whole 7-hour podcast that he did intently. I'm kidding, it wasn't 7, but it felt like it was just, I was a big fan.
Yeah, 10 years ago, there was no way I ever could have imagined still doing this now. I literally was just picking up a microphone and talking into it as a hobby. I was just like, oh, this sounds like fun. And as more and more people paid attention, I was like, this could actually turn into something. And, there were other websites covering theme parks, and particularly Disney, of course. And I always looked at them, I was like, oh, I love these sites. I read them all the time. I watch their stuff. I look at their photos. And I never in a million years thought that was where I was going with it. It was just sort of something that snowballed over time.
It is Sunday, December 9th, 2012. This is show 401 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I'm your host, Ricky Briganti. We have another great show packed with Disney and theme park news and plenty more fun. Before we get to all of that,
Yeah, I mean, 10 years is a long time in the history of the internet. You think back to, it sounds like, 2005. That wasn't that long ago, but it was before Facebook. It was before Twitter. It was before YouTube even existed. And so to be sort of starting then, it was new and fresh and different. And I guess the concept of a blog existed then, but it was really young and no one knew what to make of it. And I certainly didn't know what I was doing. So it was just a matter of sort of figuring it out along with everyone else. I knew of the panda.
Yeah.
I would
I
come
know
down
your
and-
YouTube channel and all that,
Thank
but
you.
we hadn't met.
I'd seen him in the park, and I thought, in my mind, a little bit actually, yeah. I was like, no, he's so important and big in the community that he doesn't want to talk to me.
All
And
right.
I didn't
You
want to.
listened to him just like I did
I
before
did.
you even moved here. And
Inside the Magic podcast. So yeah, and I didn't want to bother. Little did I know that he probably was looking for a friend at that moment.
I got asked by Ricky, who's the owner of Inside the Magic, if I wanted to come on as an intern for him and mainly do a lot of girly stuff and merchandise. So for Panda for John, I do a merchandise section on his show, Big Fat Panda Show, that's called Mouseaholic, where I basically pick up some of my favorite merchandise items every month and talk about them. Panda just wanted, you know, a chance to show a spotlight on merchandise, and he thought I was a good person to do that, which is, it's been really fun, and we're friends too, so.
I mean, there's no arguing about it. Essentially, what you do, what I do, what you do, it's almost, without being run by Disney, it is almost an arm of publicity, you know? We have our own voice, of course, we have our own opinions, but it is just another way to get the word out there, and that's why Disney happily is like, yes, please come, because, I mean, none of us sit there, and even if we critique something, it's not like, oh my god, that was awful, you know? It's like, well, you know, it could have been this, but here's what's good about it. It's like, exactly.
And we're a more trusted source because they're not viewing us as the company, and I think that's
right.
Because we're not.
It's the word that has sprung up over the years as social media has become a thing and the web is more popular is influential. That's the word they like to use. It's like, it's what we say, honestly, influences people's decisions on what they do.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's very important to be realistically and truthfully balanced.
Yeah. Right.
And some people aren't. There are people that just want to go to all the negative.
Yeah.
And, you know, we
and
can all
the
do that.
complete opposite.
And there's the complete opposite where everything's great.
We're calling Jenny Lamb. Hey, you're in Frontierland? Ah, okay. All right, we're walking over there right now.
I have all these things that I liked to do with my family when we came here as our annual vacation. There were certain traditions that we had. I called them the Sacred Seven, and you know, they were things like getting here before the rope drops in the morning and not leaving until the park is closed at night. You have to ride the monorail once while you're here. You have to get a picture of Mickey Mouse while you're here. There were certain markers that we had to hit. That's how I felt anyways, and so, you know, you get emotionally attached to the places where you have the best time with the people that you love, and that just stuck with me all my life through my teenage years and into adulthood. And when I had my own children, I was living in Virginia at the time when I had kids, and I just realized how much I missed Disney and how much of how important of a place it was to me, and how much I wanted them to have that as well. So we began taking family trips together back to Disney until we eventually moved back here.
Elle, ready? Okay, come on. If you can't be close to the parade, make your arm. Look, we get people looking at us instead of the real parade.
I was the first dream finder, and being the first to do anything, you get to help write the book about how it's done. The Journey to Imagination was an exquisitely crafted experience. Tony Baxter and the Imagineers created a story that didn't just talk about imagination, but it quantified it. It broke it down into its basic elements of collecting, storing, and recombining sparks of inspiration. So I wanted what I did with the guests out there to be an extension of that. I wanted to bring that message forward into my interaction. The thing that I hit upon was to treat the guests as sparks of inspiration, something that I was discovering that I'd never seen before, and this is what I would do with the children. So I would say, oh my goodness, what are you? They look up, I'm Bobby. What are you, Bobby? I'm a little boy. And it got them very seriously thinking about themselves in abstract terms. And this is the way that I worked with the children. With the adults, it was a very different thing, because if I came on at all strong, becomes kind of off-putting. So I would always mirror what the guest's energy was. If they were kind of on their heels, that's where I'd be. Figment would just look back and forth at the two of us. I'd wait for them to say, what is that? I'd say, oh, you see him too? I found that by keeping them slightly off balance, by giving them something different than what they were expecting, the usual Disney, hi, how are you? It made it easier for them to relax and play with it and become part of the process.
Yes.
Tell you, thank you so much for all your awesome tips.
Do I get a hug?
I've ever seen you in the park,
Thank
and
you so
I have to
much.
say thank you.
Thank you.
That's so
Can we take a
awesome.
picture for Facebook or something?
We can.
Please. Because you make my day by saying that. Thank you.
Because you're, yes, here, my phone is.
Do you know this lady?
Yes, right here.
Hey! Does mommy make you watch panda videos ever? Oh, Mom.
No, but he's a YouTube junkie. He should. So much fan. Here, I had to take a
Where's
picture
mom?
with
Thank
the
you.
panda. Hang on, come on.
You can be in our picture.
Oh, you want to be in the picture?
Thank you, sir.
Get out of here.
You Facebook it with John Panda. I'll put you on there. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank
If you ever need something, send me an email.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
It was
Steve.
awesome to meet you.
You too, honey. Thank you.
And that's how it goes.
That was awesome. Some people, they write me later, they're like, I didn't know if you were, they don't want to say it. And I'm like, no, bother me, it makes my day. You know, I said, yeah, that's really cool.
Thank you so much for partying. Hope to see you soon.
We're going to periscope for just a little bit. I'm waiting for peoples to come.
There's no peoples coming.
There's no peoples like snow. Oh, Shannon's here.
They
Declasia.
just stopped the dance
They
party.
stopped? Okay, we just decided to periscope and they stopped the dance party. Hello, my eyes are not good enough to see who's saying hello. Yeah, we're gonna dance, they're coming back. It's hard to keep up with these people. Boo to you.
Where's the dancing?
The dancing is coming back. We just started the periscope and the dancing went away. I apologize. Do you know this lady, JL?
It's a new kind of
Jenny
dance
Lynn?
party. It's the
Yeah,
kind
come on,
of dance
here's the dance party. Come on, girls, don't make me look bad. Go! See? Wow, it's really happening here at the Magic Kingdom.
I remember coming to the parks as I got older, as I got into teenage years, and I started, not looking at the show itself necessarily, and started looking around. I was really interested in, how's the lighting working, how are the animatronics working, and all that sort of thing. And like many a fan was like, hey, I should be an Imagineer someday. But over the years, I realized that wasn't quite the right path for me. I was more interested on sort of staying on the outside, just looking in and observing and being really interested in how it was created from a distance, I guess. But as far as in the community, I wasn't really part of anything. I didn't know anyone. I didn't even honestly realize there was a community. And I just sort of was a fan and was just like, hey, I'm gonna do this thing. And it became very quickly clear to me that there was, in fact, not only a community, but a really big community. People who have been Disney fans longer than I had even been alive. And it was great to suddenly, get in contact with these people. They'd be emailing me. I remember pretty early on, within a couple of months of starting the podcast, I got an email from some guy named Lou Longello. And he was like, oh, I love this podcast that you're doing. It's great. We should just, whatever, get to know each other. And he had this whole history of trivia books, and I figured out who he was. I was like, oh, wow, this guy's been doing this for a really long time. And of course, later on, he started his own fantastic podcast, and we've been friends ever since, which is great. I mean, that's been a huge part of this. Is it's not only a chance to bring the feeling of being in the parks outside of the parks, but also get to know people who love it as much as I do.
So back in 2003, I was a lawyer in New Jersey, and I had an IT consulting company on the side, which means I didn't sleep very much. But I always, while I was doing those things for work, I was always really dreaming about Disney. And so I came up with this idea that because I was in the service business, I wanted to make something once and resell it. And that's how the idea of a book came to be. And I wasn't smart enough to write about the law, and I couldn't write about computers. And all I really knew about was Walt Disney World. I had a lot of useless knowledge rolling around in my head. So the challenge was, can I write a book and can I get it published? Can I be validated by somebody who thinks that my work is worthy of them putting their name and their money behind? So I set out to write the book that I wanted to read. I was fascinated by the minutia, the details and the stories, the secrets, the layers of the onion that this place has so many of. And so I set out to write a Walt Disney World trivia book because that's what I was fascinated by, and there wasn't any out there. I asked my oh so very supportive wife, what do you think about writing a book? She says, well, all you know about is Disney World. And I said, you're right. I went down the basement and started writing, and I basically haven't come out since. Found a publisher, signed a multi-book deal. My first book came out in 2004. But the first thing he said to me after congratulations was, don't quit your day job. Right? You're not going to be able to do this full time. Fast forward a few years, my little 2-page brochure website turned into articles, which is what we called blog posts back in 2004. I saw podcasting coming down the pike in 2005, and I realized that the spoken word is so much more powerful than anything that you can write. And sort of accidentally, it started to snowball, and this hobby really sort of turned accidentally into a business. And at one point I said, look, if I'm going to do this, I had to go all in. And I left the practice of law. I left a job as a chief technology officer for a medical imaging company. I sold the house I thought we were going to live in forever and brought money to my closing and packed up the Honda Odyssey and drove to Florida, not even knowing, where I was going to live. My parents rented me a house sight unseen. I got a lot of strange looks. When I wrote my book, they understood, and then I started podcasting. They're like, wait a minute, you're going to sit in your room by yourself and talk to yourself about Mickey Mouse for an hour a week and hope that people listen? I'm like, yeah, isn't that awesome? They're like, we give you 6 weeks. When you tell people that you're leaving a very high-paying job with benefits and you're packing up the van to move to Disney World, that's when they start to say, you're crazy, you'll be back in 6 weeks. Not everybody sort of saw the vision. It was tough for me to sort of explain the vision because I didn't know. I didn't have a business plan. It really was a leap of faith. But my family, my immediate family, and my parents and my close friends were very much behind me, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Smells good.
Alright.
A lot of prices went up.
So,
Are we like stopping here? Chicken pot sticker, I'm there. I'm there.
are
Chicken
we
pot
making
sticker,
like a
I'm there.
stop? Are we doing like a... Can I have a duck and a black pepper shrimp, please?
I will get a
Wait, let me see this. I'm old and blind now.
Yeah, this is totally new.
I started in 2000. I started in 2003. The book came out in 2004, and I was down here in 2007, 8 maybe, somewhere right there.
2008, because you had only come a couple of years before I came back. I called you, or no, I contacted.
I was still in New Jersey.
I wrote you an email, and he was so nice. He was nice enough to call me back, and you were trying to help me through. I was thinking about writing a book myself about my family's Disney experience, and he was awesome and giving me tips and kind of guiding me
neurotic Disney mom or the neurotic Disney something.
Mom. That was right. That was it. Confessions, true confessions of a neurotic Disney mom.
But I remember, listen, man, I remember what it was like to start out, and like you're trying to like build traction, you're trying to like get people on, and I mean, I'm a nobody. I'm like everybody else.
It was hard to get you as a guest on the show. Not that he
I
ever
was
said
holding
no.
out. I was holding out for more money, obviously.
Oh, and you know what? What's good? Do you remember the special effect thing we made? Remember, I stood up in front of a green screen and I told them, swipe your hands like this, swipe your hand, do this with your hands, and we did a whole special effect thing.
I'm telling you, I'm still loving it that I got to be Maleficent.
Oh, that was fun.
And down descends the green fireball.
When I look at all you guys, I see this community of people. It's a very, it seems like a very tight-knit community of people. Was it like that back early on, Lou? Like when you were first starting out?
I think tight-knit's the word, and you could almost argue that it may have been even more so early on because there were so few people that were doing it. There were so few people in the space. You know, there were websites before they were blogs, and there was discussion forums because before there was social media.
I do think that Walt had some degree of community in mind that seems a bit undeniable to me. After all, he had designed the idea of Epcot, experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Now we made that into a theme park, but his original idea wasn't for it to be an actual living, breathing community that people lived in and, you know, shared their lives in. We do have a community like that, but it hasn't taken on the form that Walt expected. Most of it is done online now, especially through social media.
The community when you move down here is where if you move down here by yourself and you think you're not going to have any friends, that's not the case. As soon as you walk into the Disney parks, you will meet other Disney fans, and there's so many like Facebook groups and online communities. You can always meet friends, and it's really heartwarming to see other people who love Disney as much as you do. Because if you come from a place where people are like, you like Disney? Like, what's wrong with you? Or like, do you have kids? And you're like, no, I just like Disney. And here you find the people who understand you.
It's pretty impressive how dedicated Disney fans are to just about anything Disney. I mean, there's the extremes in every fandom in the world. You know, Comic-Cons are huge nowadays, but Disney is definitely a particular sort of breed of fans who are tremendously loyal.
Well, I think.
All right, let me document where we are. Okay, so we will pick up next Monday. Watch the rest of this. Hopefully you've enjoyed it so far. We'll finish this and then have a good week. Thank you.